Hello Booktube, this is Linda Jo Martin, the Book Lady, and I am going to be doing some more book organization today. I still have most of my books in Idaho, like I said in the first video of this series, which I'm calling Book Disorganized. My goal here is just to pick up every book that I've got, show it to you, talk a little bit about it, and put it in a place where it belongs. So I don't have very many bookcases. I only have this little one over here, and I have another one that my son made, and it's very small too. He made it when he was in high school. So I am going to go ahead and start picking up books and discussing them. Now yesterday, or the day before when I made the first video, I actually took time afterwards to organize the books in a certain place and to put the names on a spreadsheet. And I also went to my Goodreads account and I emptied the TBR list there of everything except books that I own, whether they're physical books, Kindle, audiobooks. I'm going to put just those that I own in the TBR list on Goodreads, and that way I will be able to look down the list and see exactly what I have to choose from without going out and buying something else. So I'm going to start tonight by showing you this book. It is Agnes Sanford, The Healing Light, and this is a classic book on healing in America. I don't know much about it, really. I think she's a Christian, I'm not sure really, but I started reading this a while back, and I had a composition book that I was taking notes in, so these two have to go together, and I'm going to put them in a box for Christian books over here. And this is also a Christian book. It's called Dropping Your Rock: The Freedom to Choose Love Over Judgment. So basically, dropping your rock means that if you are unforgiving about something or judgmental, just, quit doing that. Looks like a good book. I've never actually read it. I want to read it, so I had brought it along on this trip. When I left Idaho last October, I thought I was going to go down to Arizona for this winter. But when I got to Happy Camp, I was in an RV park, and the Spirit of the Lord visited me one morning and told me to stay in Happy Camp. So I'm staying here for right now until he tells me to do something different. So a few days ago I showed my prayer shawl on the maybe Midrash update video that I did, and I've been doing this while listening to audiobooks and the audio Bible. It's a wonderful hobby. It's a pretty long shawl. This is half, it's folded in half. You can see it's pretty long. Well, anyhow, so Ariane wanted to know what pattern I was using. So this is the book that I got. I actually got it right after I got back here to Happy Camp. It is called The Crocheted Prayer Shawl Companion, and it is by Janet Bristow and Victoria A. Cole-Galo, and there's 37 crochet patterns. They have other books that have knitting patterns, and I don't know what else. I think most of their books are about knitting patterns, but since I don't like to knit so much, and I do love to crochet, I'm using this one. So I looked through their selections in here, and the one that I chose was actually a very simple, easy pattern. If I can get to the right pattern, I think it's this one. This old man sitting in a chair. Easy as 1, 2, 3 shawl. I thought, okay, that's the one to start with. And it was easy. And she wanted to know what stitches I'm using for this For this shawl, well, it was mainly, I guess, single crochet and double crochet and some chains, and it was really easy. So I'm doing another one. I'm going to start another one in a few days, and I'll be using this orange yarn. I just got it today. It's Caron Simply Soft, and it's really, really soft and nice to use, and not as expensive as some of the others. And I don't know what pattern I'm going to be using yet. I'm going to do a different pattern, but probably from this book. And so my intention on doing the prayer shawls was to have like a prayer booth at the fair, and I don't know that that's going to happen because of the coronavirus. Things are getting canceled. I mean, events are getting canceled, so I'm just going to go ahead and make as many as I can and just wait and see what happens. Eventually we're going to get past this coronavirus thing, and we'll be able to resume normal life as soon as possible. So here's another one. I must be in the Christian section now because this is a Christian Bible study, and I did this with the Women's Bible Study group here in town. It's called Follow. No matter what you believe, no matter how you behave, Jesus invites you to follow. Like when he went to Andrew, I was thinking Andrew and Simon and John, and yeah. Anyhow, he just said, follow me, and they did. So basically that's what he says to all of us, and you don't have to be perfect. Like Matthew was a tax collector and he was really hated, but Jesus told him to follow him, and he just got up and left his tax collector's booth and job and followed Jesus instead. So basically, we do not have to be perfect in order to follow. Just start following and then good things happen. Anyhow, this is by Stanley, and there's videos that go with it. I don't have the videos because I did this with a group and somebody else owned the videos. But I do recommend it if you are in a Bible study group. This is a good one. I really liked that. So let me get away from the Christian stack. Here we go, The Martian. This is actually a novel that I have read. This was a very good novel. It was sort of over my head in some aspects. It was a little too technical for me in some places, and I guess I'm a very simple thinking kind of person. But still very interesting. The man was stuck on Mars. It's a pretty old novel at this point. I don't know what year this was published. A few years back. I'll check into it here. You know what was really amazing about this book is that the author, who is Andy Weir, he originally published this on his blog. You know how a lot of people say don't ever publish your novel on your blog because you'll never be able to sell it? Well, guess what? He sold it. There was a movie. It's just been so popular. So just do what you want. If you're a writer, do your thing. So copyright 2011 is when it came out. Very interesting. It's a story that I can't get out of my mind. A man stuck on Mars alone trying to survive until it can be rescued. It's amazing. So that is going to go into my fiction box. I have a special box over here for fiction books that, oh, dropped it over there. Fiction books that I've already read that I hope to be able to do a review video on. The next book that I have in this stack is The Little Prince. I'll bet a lot of you have already read this one. If not, why not, you know? This is by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, who was an aviator, and in this book he's an aviator in the middle of the desert, and up walks this little boy called the Little Prince, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful little book. I recommend it. I don't necessarily recommend this particular copy that I had bought, but it's okay. It was a good translation. It's just that this particular copy was kind of bootleg. It was didn't look very official to me. Buy the official copy, much better. And that goes in fiction. Now this one is nonfiction. This was an interesting book, and I do have a review of it here on Booktube somewhere in my archive. It's The Story of Linda Lookout by Keith Lundy Hoofnagel. Anyhow. A friend of mine gave me this book. It was about a woman at a lookout, and it's pretty much illustrated. It's kind of fun to read. I enjoyed this book, and it's not fiction, so I need to have a nonfiction place. And I think I'll put it right down there for right now. And People of a Lie by Scott Peck, MD, better known for his Road Less Traveled book, and it is called The Hope for Healing Human Evil. I found this very fascinating. I have read it, and I reviewed it on my Christian channel, which I have a few videos on. My Christian channel is called Redeemed in Love. So there is a video review of that book here somewhere. And here is another fiction book. This one is actually the winner of the Newbery Medal. Was it the winner? I'm having a hard time seeing because I don't have a light behind me. It's over on the other side of the room. So no, it is actually a Newbery Honor book. But it also won the Scott Odell Award and it was a National Book Award finalist. And I don't know what this one is down here. I can't read. It's too dark over here in the corner. This is called One Crazy Summer by Rita Williams-Garcia, and it's about these 3 little girls that have to spend the summer in Oakland, California. And that's probably one of the main reasons I got it. Now I have a goal, or I had a goal, of reading all of the Newbery list books, and this is of course one of them. So that was one reason I wanted to read it, and the other reason was because it's Oakland, California. And that's where I was born, and I have actually lived there as an adult for about a year. But I wanted to know what this book said about Oakland, so it was kind of interesting because it was a part of Oakland that I actually did not live in, but still an interesting story for kids. I think it's let's see, ages 9 to 12, I guess it says. Cute book. I'm going to have a special place for just juvenile fiction. The next one is called The Friendship Factor. This is an old Christian book, and I read this so long ago. I'm going to say I read this when I was in my 20s. Living in Redding, California, and I had a very small child at the time named Joshua, and I used to put him in his baby stroller and walk around Redding like every day during the summer because like there was nothing else to do, and it was good to get the child out of the house and just go for a walk. So we would walk down to the store, and they had a rack full of Christian books. Now, I was not a Christian at the time, but somebody told me this was a good book, The Friendship Factor, and it's by Alan Loy McGinnis. So I read this back when I was a very young 20-year-old living in Redding, and I guess I was a college student for part of the time that I was living there. And anyhow, I don't know, I guess I got a copy of this when I was up in Idaho. Somebody had left it in the community room for people to pick up, and I thought I might want to reread that sometime. So here it is, and I'll put it in my box of Christian books over here and go on to the next one. I'm trying to get away from the Christian books because I do have an awful lot of them, but I don't want to overwhelm this video with Christian books. I think that I might have reviewed this one also on Booktube. I'm not really sure. This is Echoes from the Hills of Idaho, Stories of My Early Life by Ruth Butler. So it's a memoir of her early life in Idaho. and she was over on the eastern side of Idaho. Not, I was in the northern part of Idaho, but this was in the eastern part where they actually could see the Teton Mountains from where they lived, but of course it was from like the backside. Most people think of the Tetons as seen from Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and she was on the other side of them, but they could see them. And it was a nice memoir of times long ago. These little dresses that she and her sister had on this car, they're standing on the car. Can you see that? I hope so. So anyhow, her sister made those dresses out of bandanas. The author is the girl that is standing on top of the car, and her sister is the one who made the bandana dresses. So I thought that was cute. And that will go, I'm going to put it in regional books. So that's probably enough books for this video, and I will get back to you in another video. I have a lot more books to go through, but I'm only going to do a few at a time because that way I can handle, you know, adding them into Goodreads and putting them on my spreadsheet. So that is going to be it for today.